They almost did the thing again where they just waste an entire game worth of good stuff. Sorry, I shouldn't say an entire game because they clearly did not play an entire game in this one. But oh my goodness, did they almost waste a brilliant performance from Alex Schead. And I'll be honest, this is the first time I've actually been annoyed by this team all year. I've watched the games, I've watched the losses, the Detroit loss from earlier in the season, the Chicago loss, even the recent losses to Tampa Bay that were frustrating, but Tampa Bay's a good team. But these last two games in particular, the blown 2-goal lead in the third against Florida, and then this game where they just disappeared for an entire third period and left Alex Schead to do everything. If it wasn't obvious already, Alex Schead is the only reason why the Canes won this game, and they nearly wasted the entire thing just doing that disappearing act. And they almost did. Trust me, if it was not for Vincent Trocheck and the team for some reason waking up after that friggin' Luis Ryan goal, this would have been nothing. 0 points in a game where your goaltender posts a .950 save percentage, that's ridiculous. So I can say for the first time, I'm actually annoyed. I'm annoyed by this team. Welcome to the Canes game review for the Carolina Hurricanes 3-2 overtime win in game number 21 of the season against the Florida Panthers. And now that we got all the negativity, there's one more negative thing we got to come back to later on. But now that we got all that out of the way, let's intro the game. We have no lineup changes. Teuvo Teravainen's still out with his concussion. Jake Gardner's still out with what I believe is a lower body injury. Alex Schead in the net, and Chris Driedger in the net for the Florida Panthers. And this game really, I don't know, it went back and forth a lot in the first period. I thought Carolina was the better team to start the game, but Florida was having their chances, but Alex Schead standing tall to begin the game early. A Hornquist penalty ends up leading to a Pesce one-timer on the power play. Brett Pesce now getting some power play time here and there. Arguably the Canes' best defenseman of the season so far. He snipes it from that opposite side circle. The Canes lead 1-0. And this would be pretty much the biggest thing that would happen in this first period. At the end of it, Nino Niederreiter lays a huge hit on Aaron Ekblad. And we head to the first intermission up 1-0. And the second period of what, we should have seen this coming. Nedeljkovic huge in the second period, making so many good saves. A back-and-forth game, but a lot of Florida pressure. And again, I've talked about how good I think the Florida Panthers are this season. This game exemplified it on another level. Even though they got the loss, this team is just phenomenal at just turning the game around exactly when they want to. Probably the biggest highlight of the period, a 4-on-3 power play for the Florida Panthers. Aaron Ekblad walks in from the point all the time in the world. Only 3 penalty killers on the ice for the Carolina Hurricanes. To his credit, Brett Pesce kind of just let Ekblad walk in, made it a little bit easier on Nedeljkovic. But Nedeljkovic, a perfect glove save, just completely robbed Aaron Ekblad on this play. Something he's been doing every time he's played Florida this year. Ekblad just cannot seem to figure out Nedeljkovic. And the second period ends 1-0, still in favor of the Hurricanes, as we head to the third and what would obviously be the worst period for Carolina in this one. Early on in that third period, a rebound goal, Frank Vatrano, I believe it was Ekblad who had the chance at front, and Nedeljkovic just slid too far out of the way. Vatrano easily gets that rebound goal. We're tied 1-1. Radko Gudas ends up with this chance in a period that was just dominated by the Florida Panthers in this one. He comes in kind of on his offside, rips a wrist shot, a great save by Nedeljkovic. Of course, Gudas, not the typical player for the Florida Panthers that you're going to see walking in and taking a shot like this. Leads to a 2-on-1 back the other way, but a great breakup on that play by the Florida defense. But with just about 5 minutes left, or 3 or 4 minutes left actually, in the third period, a mad scramble in front. E2 Luis Ryan, of course, part of the Vincent Trocheck trade from last season. This mad scramble in front. Luis Ryan, 1-2-3 whacks, finally gets the puck and just lifts it over Nedeljkovic, who's sprawled out. And the Florida Panthers take a 2-1 lead. And this goal, you could just sense this goal was coming. The Canes just collapsed, folded up. It's the thing that they've done so often in previous years. But the biggest difference for this season, this version of the Carolina Hurricanes, this team finds ways to battle back every single time. So Nedeljkovic gets yanked with 1:45 left in the third period. And not even 20 seconds later, Canes come down, get control of the puck in the zone. Svechnikov behind the net centers it out to Trocheck, who gets another goal against his former team. Make that 3 goals against the Florida Panthers in as many games. And the Canes tie it up 2-2 late in the third to send this one to overtime. We didn't have a lot of chances on either side in this overtime session. Really dominated by Carolina, though. As soon as that Luis Durainen goal goes in, the Canes just took this game over. And, of course, the final play of the game, Aho finds Nietzsche's kind of on the back door, gets it through 2 Florida defenders. A really great pass from Sebastian Aho on this one, who was kind of buzzing the whole game. Wasn't getting a lot done. He manages to get this pass through 2 Florida defenders, finds Marty Nietzsche's, who seems to just score overtime goals. And the Canes win this one on Marty Nietzsche's, or Nietzsche's. I should start saying Nietzsche's instead of Nietzsche's. His goal in overtime. 3-2, Carolina wins in game number 21 of the season. And wrapping this game up, Nedeljkovic was just phenomenal. There's still a little bit of concern about the way this team typically just takes a period off and how it so badly costs them. As I mentioned, the main difference of this team this season is they've managed to battle back every single time. They've shown some real good resiliency. My only concern is come playoff time, I feel like this really starts costing the team in games where you just can't lose when you have a 2-goal lead in the third or a 1-goal lead in the third. You need to find a way to secure it. And let's give it up again for Alex Nedeljkovic. Ned has been unbelievable since he's come in. It's unfortunate. I don't see a scenario where he's not back on the taxi squad, and I don't think it's because of his play. Unfortunately, it's because of a different reason. When Peter Mrazek comes back off the injured reserve when he's fully healed from his thumb surgery, honestly, the problem here is I don't believe they're willing to sit James Reimer and his contract. If you're unaware, James Reimer makes $3.4 million this season. Well, that's his cap hit, I should say. I'm not sure if it's actually the amount of money he makes. But based on his cap hit and how much money the team is paying him, I cannot envision a scenario where Reimer is put through waivers and enters the taxi squad. So odds are we're going to see Nedeljkovic have to potentially go through waivers again, depending on how many games he plays, but I think that threshold is 10 if I read that correctly. I could be wrong. If somebody knows, actually, please correct me on that. The hope is that the only thing I could see, and the only scenario I can envision is if they've got to put Nedeljkovic back through waivers, I don't believe they'll do it. Because right now, there's just no chance he's clearing. There's no chance. Even though the Edmonton Oilers just claimed Alex Stalock off of waivers from Minnesota, I think Edmonton would probably put in another claim even. Nevertheless, there's teams all around this league right now that probably need a goaltender. Depending on Toronto, Frederik Andersen, how long he's out, how long Jack Campbell's out, if he re-aggravated his injury. There's teams around this league that are probably willing to take that chance and claim Nedeljkovic even if there's a 2-week quarantine involved. So I think that's the one thing that could probably save Nedeljkovic. I should say save his spot on the roster right now, even though he's absolutely earned it. He's been the Canes' best goaltender this season. Mrazek was really good early on, but that's a very small sample size, and I think Nedeljkovic has come in and just played so damn well. But one thing is for sure, with Nedeljkovic, he has solidified that his spot on this team is secure next season. Pending what happens with Seattle, pending what happens with waivers and all that stuff, Nedeljkovic should absolutely be on this team next year, and it'll be a travesty if he isn't. But my guess is when we have a clear and healthy Peter Mrazek, that Nedeljkovic will end up back on the taxi squad. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, click like down below. Consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next one.